Hi guys, it's Debbie. It's Oscar time, and although I have a love-hate relationship with this award, and I think there are many more well-deserving lesser-known titles out there, this award still shines a spotlight on some astounding films which are then brought to a massive audience. And today I'll be ranking from worst to best all 10 films nominated for Best Picture. Please keep in mind these are my own personal opinions and preferences. There might be some hot takes. And also, these are just the 10 films that happen to be nominated for an Oscar. It doesn't mean necessarily that they're my top 10 favourite films of the year. And of course, I would love to hear how you would rank these films, which ones you loved, which ones you liked less, what you think of how I rank them. Let me know everything with a comment below. Okay, kicking off at the bottom is American Fiction. While there is no such thing as a textbook Oscar movie, I personally think there were some much more stronger contenders that could have taken its place among the nominees. It was entertaining and funny. I actually didn't expect to laugh that much, but compared to other films in the category, it didn't quite measure up in terms of overall quality and impact. It's the story of a frustrated writer who adopts a pseudonym to write an exaggerated satirical novel aiming to unveil the hypocrisies within the publishing industry. Jeffrey Wright delivers a solid performance. As always, I don't think I could come up with one single instance in which his acting didn't impress me across all the films of the series I've seen. But despite the film's attempts to satirize stereotypes, I felt like American Fiction was actually laden with them itself. I don't want to reveal too much to avoid spoilers, but some scenes were set up in a manner that seemed perfect for a potentially insightful and humorous analysis of certain issues, but then just fell into the usual boring, predictable jokes. However, remember, we're talking of the bottom of a list of the top 10 films of the year. The overall quality of the films on this list is going to be pretty high, just one of them has to be at the bottom. Next up, we have Poor Things. Yes, put down those pitchforks. While I'm very well aware that many people consider this basically the best film of the year, I didn't particularly like it. Having seen basically all of Yorgos Lanthimos' movies, I knew what I was in for with Poor Things. I didn't just casually stumble across this bizarre aesthetic. The film follows the story of a young woman who is resurrected and explores the world with a childlike curiosity, embarking on various adventures along the way. The world in which she is resurrected is a mesmerizing steampunk environment which blends weirdness, beauty and horror, and in which there is so much to explore. But this remains intriguing only for the first half of the film, which is actually even the funniest, as Emma Stone's character gets herself in so many awkward situations. However, the second half of the film falls into this repetitive narrative in which there is a focus on this idea of sex nearly being like the only thing that empowers a woman and makes her free, and insists on this over and over and over again. You have this huge world, a person with a free, childlike mind, but the only direction in which the plot moves is that one. I'm not saying this film is awful. For example, the costume design, the production design were absolutely beautiful, but I really felt so disappointed with how many different ways this could have gone. On the upside, I absolutely loved Mark Ruffalo's character. I loved and hated him so much. Next up is Barbie. I've probably said this already at least 10 times on my channel, but Barbie actually positively surprised me. It follows the titular Barbie toy who, after a lifetime of being the center of attention, visits the human world and experiences a complete reversal when Ken becomes the focal point of attention. I had incredibly low expectations for this film. I expected it to be full of shallow and performative feminism while pretending to have a deeper meaning than it actually did. However, it turned out to be quite enjoyable. I do feel some people are going overboard in their praise, hailing it as the ultimate feminist film, and even nominated America Ferrera for Best Supporting Actress. But that's a topic for a whole other video. I'll leave that linked. The production design and costume design were great, and Ryan Gosling's performance was absolutely hilarious. Him and all the Kens were my favourite part of the story. The I'm Just Ken song has been stuck in my head for months. However, there were certainly many better films released this year. For example, moving up the list, we have Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's new epic film. Based on true events, it delves into the murders of many Native Americans after oil was discovered on their land. It boasts a stellar cast with huge names like De Niro, DiCaprio, but in the end, it was a somewhat newcomer, Lily Gladstone, who actually stole the spotlight. She beautifully portrayed a woman torn between two worlds, married to a man from such a different background from hers, whom she loves but also regards warily, all while enduring the repercussions of the atrocities inflicted upon her people. Now here's another hot take. I think that Scorsese, just like other directors like Tarantino or Nolan, is often given a free pass. Anything he puts on film is blindly praised as good. Nobody dares to raise any point of discussion about his films. For example, I think in some points Killers of the Flower Moon is dragged out and DiCaprio's performance is just the usual DiCaprio, nothing groundbreaking. However, as I was mentioning, Lily Gladstone was amazing. The film has beautiful costumes and cinematography. I particularly liked how dreams, superstitions and beliefs were intermixed into real life imagery, adding depth to the narrative. But moving up, we have Maestro.
What? You put that trash old Maestro higher than Poor Things and Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yes, I don't think Maestro is that bad. My criticism lies more in Bradley Cooper's obvious pandering to the Oscars through his marketing strategy of the film rather than the film itself. For example, he's been emphasizing how it took him 6 years to perfect a 6-minute scene, which makes me think, where is the limit then? When does it stop being acting? Also, I think people were disappointed with this film because it only delves into one aspect of the protagonist, musician Leonard Bernstein's life, while skipping many other significant aspects. But as I've mentioned in the past, not every biopic needs to be a comprehensive life-to-death analysis. In the case of Maestro, the film focuses on Bernstein's tumultuous relationships with his wife and other partners, and explores how these dynamics influenced his career, personal life, and relationships with his children. Even The Fabelmans focused on a specific period in Steven Spielberg's life, one of the greatest directors of all time, even before he became a director. Carey Mulligan delivered a spectacular, beautiful, heartbreaking rendition of Bernstein's wife, portraying the complexities of a character with depth and authenticity. I really don't get how the film is receiving low ratings simply because viewers disagree with the character's life choices. Moving up, we have Anatomy of a Fall, a film which was criminally undermarketed here in Italy. While it received significant publicity abroad, here in Italy it was released in very few theatres for a very short period of time. When we went to see it, there were 6 people in a theatre room. 6. Anatomy of a Fall is a courtroom drama, but which deviates from typical courtroom drama tropes. It analyses the circumstances surrounding a man's fatal fall from a window and delves into the question of whether his wife might have played a role in the tragedy. Sandra Hüller delivered an outstanding performance, portraying a character rich in emotion and grappling with language barriers during the trial, one of the many mundane aspects of legal proceedings which many courtroom dramas just gloss over in favour of the objections, your honours, screaming scenes. Other realistic aspects this film includes are childcare arrangements and pet care during the trial, how the protagonist might actually be annoying and you might not agree with her choices, just a solid, realistic, well-written story. And with this and the zone of interest, it really is Sandra Hüller's year, and I'm sure we're going to see much more of her in the future. Now it's getting tough because we're moving into the top 4. Next up we have The Zone of Interest, a film I was eagerly looking forward to, and I had been avoiding spoilers throughout all of its release. Don't worry, I won't spoil anything for those who haven't seen it yet. I honestly at first had mixed feelings about this film. It does have a very peculiar aesthetic which not everybody might like. You can really see how I'm struggling with the spoilers here, but at this point I can't lie to myself. I just really like this film. It depicts the life of a Nazi commander and his family who live in Auschwitz, or let's say just a wall away from the camp. So they go by with their daily activities, kids swimming in the pool, tending to the garden, celebrating birthdays, having breakfast, on the background of mass murders, screams, shooting, plumes of smoke from incinerators, trains transporting people to death. It's insane to think that these events happened in real life. That was a real Nazi commander. This normalization of violence happened not too long ago, and this is why this film is so different from many other Holocaust movies. One of this film's standout features is the sound design and soundtrack. It has you shaking in your seat, terrified, in disgusted awe. You just have to see it. And now we're entering the top 3. At number 3 we have Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan, a director whose films are hyped up to oblivion just because of his name even before people see them. As a huge Nolan fan, please remember he is not always infallible. We always have to watches films the most unbiased possible. All that being said, Oppenheimer actually is really, really a good film. I agree more with the love for the technical aspects rather than for the acting. That's not saying that the actors didn't deliver solid performances here, but in my opinion, other performances this year have been overshadowed by the acclaim for Cillian Murphy. Overall, I personally believe Oppenheimer really shines in the technical aspects. The sound design, cinematography and visual effects were spectacular. The film's ability to recreate the particles within the bomb and what was going on in Oppenheimer's mind, all while basically not using CGI, was amazing. I doubt I'll ever forget that moment in which we all just sat in silent awe while the first explosion filled up the screen and we were just shaking in our seats. Anyway, regardless of my thoughts on the film, this title has been covered extensively. It's winning across all awards, so I won't bore you any further. Let's move on to the next title. Past Lives takes second place in my ranking, offering a beautiful, heartbreaking, heartwarming story of two Korean childhood friends turned lovers whose lives split when one moves to the other side of the world. As she assimilates into a new culture, loses her roots and her language, pursues a demanding career, she finds herself in a new relationship, but years later fate reunites her with her old friend, leading to a deeply emotional journey of rediscovery. Finally, we have a realistic portrayal of relationships. It delves into the complexities of life, career pursuits, money constraints, and the challenge of maintaining a connection across continents. You can't just hop onto a ridiculously expensive plane to the other side of the world to meet a person you haven't seen for years, like next week. The film acknowledges the realities of modern romance, long-distance communication, language barriers, the limitations of technology. I mean, they even finally nailed the realistic aspects of those late night Skype calls in which the internet connection starts freezing. And also, we finally have adults discussing relationships in adult, realistic ways. Love and friendship are not always black and white, they're way more complex. And I won't say more to not spoil anything, but now we have reached the #1 spot. So which film did I like the most? Which managed to top all of these names? Of course, The Holdovers. I titled that I didn't expect to rank this high. If you had asked me a few months ago, I definitely wouldn't have expected this title to surpass all those huge names and claim the #1 spot. I remember before watching this film, so many people were raving about how this silly little comedy was better than these huge names on the award scenes, and then I watched it and I immediately agreed. The Holdovers is the story of a grumpy school teacher who is tasked with overseeing a small group of students who remain at their boarding school over the Christmas holidays, along with a few staff members like the school cook. Each character's reason for staying behind over the holidays is unveiled through the film, adding these layers of bittersweetness. One student in particular, portrayed by first-time actor Dominic Sessa, engages in a comedic and sad dynamic with the teacher, revealing more about themselves in the process. Divine Joy Randolph gave an incredible performance. Paul Giamatti was absolutely amazing in his role, proving how hard it is to nail comedic characters. This film is perfectly balanced. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me think, and it managed to finally authentically capture the 70s aesthetic with actors who actually look like they're from that time period without the usual iPhone face. And with that, we have covered all 10 films. Of course, I would now love to hear what you think about them, how you would have ranked them. Do you agree with my choices? Let me know everything with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.